So in 2007, my dad passed away from cancer. That was when I was thinking a lot about maybe I should just try because I had this thing in me wanting to do the media stuff because I started actually volunteering at a TV station
Okay.
before he passed away. I was thinking about it. I volunteered at Mississauga Cable 10, Rogers Cable 10, and TV Cogeco Niagara Cable 10. People watching who are from those areas will know. Really shooting a lot of interviews with people,
Sure.
getting a lot of people's personal stories, their journeys, to hear about how they've experienced Ghana or other parts of Africa they may have visited, and just knowing what people are doing here.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joe Hatagwa from Authentic African. And if you want to know what it's like to work for the government of Ghana, then to leave and start your own business and work as a content creator in Ghana, then this is the video for you. All right, guys, so today we are interviewing the one and only Ivy Prosper. It has been, 3 years since the last time we did an in-person interview together. She interviewed me, I interviewed her, and today we're going to talk to her about her journey. She's been living here in Ghana since 2016.
Yes.
2016 recently, but she's a repatriate, whatever you call it. She came in 2013. 2011 to 2013.
Yes.
Then came back in 2016. So Ivy previously worked for the Ghana Tourism Authority. All of the viral videos you've seen of people coming to Ghana were filmed on Ivy's phone. And so Ivy has had that experience working for the government here. She's branched out on her own a little over a year ago. Oh, no, 7 months ago.
7 months.
A little over 7 months ago, she's branched out on her own. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that journey's been like. So thank you, Ivy, for doing this.
No problem. Thank you, too.
Absolutely. And welcome back, of course.
Yes.
So Ivy and I have gone live, I think, 4 times remotely. And then we've also done one interview in person. So I'm excited to do this interview again in a different place, better technology these days, and a little bit more experience now. So I'm excited to talk to you about your journey. So I do want to start from the beginning. I mean, many of the people watching this know Ivy's story. Ivy's all over, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. You guys have seen her story. So, but I do want to kind of take it back for those who aren't as familiar with you. So I know that you grew up in Canada, but I'd love to go back to like your origins and your beginning. So where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born here in Ghana.
Okay.
And raised in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to the university where?
So after I finished university, so I did university in Canada.
Okay.
Where I studied fashion design.
Okay.
Worked in the fashion industry. And then when I left my job in fashion and went back to school, I went to Detroit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the Detroit, man. That was the connection with Detroit.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Detroit?
That was from 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a radio and television broadcasting is what I studied at Howard School of Broadcast Arts is what it was called at the time. But now they've changed their name. I think it's now Specs Howard School of Media Art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that for a year. You lived in the States. Did you move back to Canada immediately after that?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I had been doing my internship at BDIV Local 4 Detroit.
Okay.
It was a great experience. Okay. I learned so much working with the people there. They were really great people to work with. And I wanted to stay and get work with them. And when I spoke with their legal department, they talked to me about how they would love to have me stay. But the timing of it, they said they've hired Canadians in the past, but the timing was at a time when the economy was collapsing in the US. And so they were like, the unemployment rate had gone up so high that they couldn't justify hiring a Canadian when there are Americans who needed jobs as well. So when my visa expired for living in the US, then I went back to Canada.
Got it. And so for those who don't know, that's called the H-1B visa. It's a visa that it's basically says that you can't hire an American with an equivalent skill set. So in that case, you would have to hire a foreign-born person to be able to be in that space. So you see that a lot in the tech industry. And that's one of those things that Elon Musk and all those folks that they're always fighting for because, a lot of Asians work in tech. So that's how those people get their jobs. They also pay them less than they usually pay Americans, just so you guys know. Anyway, so now you mentioned you were studying fashion design in undergrad, then you went back to school to study media. What made you make the transition from fashion to media?
Well, I always loved fashion, to be honest. And But I always had a thing for media, film, television, because when I used to do modeling, they would send models out on auditions for TV, for commercials. And so I did a lot of background stuff in film and television because a lot of films and TV shows are filmed in Canada. A lot of
Yep.
people don't realize. And so a lot of these productions would come and we would be doing work on set. And so whenever we were there, we were sitting there in between takes and just watching when they were setting up, laying down tracks so they can move the camera up and down, and just seeing the actors and the producers, directors. I found it very fascinating. So it was always in the back of my mind that it was something I was always interested in doing.
Sure.
And even before that, when we were kids, growing up in my generation, not everybody had a camera, but my dad always had a camera, a still camera for taking pictures.
Mhm.
But then people would borrow video cameras from each other. And then my dad bought this video camera, and then we would make videos and pretend. I remember there was some time we pretended to do a talk show.
Okay.
And then I was the host, and then my siblings were like the guests. And so I was like, these are the kids from the streets. We're going to talk to the kids from the street and see what's going on with them. So I always liked communicating.
Sure.
So that interest was there. So in 2007, my dad passed away from cancer. And while he was in the hospital, he talked a lot about life and things that he wanted to do and he never got a chance to do. And then he was telling us that if you want to do something, just do it because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. He thought he was going to retire and get to enjoy things in life, but he didn't even get to retirement age. So after he passed away, that was when I was thinking a lot about, you know what, maybe I should just try, because I had this thing in me wanting to do the media stuff, because I started actually volunteering at a TV station.
Okay.
Before he passed away. I was thinking about it. I volunteered at Mississauga Cable 10, Rogers Cable 10, and TV Cogeco Niagara Cable 10. People watching who are from those areas will know. And so I would go around doing reporting, and it was all volunteer, and I liked it. And I was like, if I like this when I'm volunteering, then I might like it if I'm getting paid.
Right.
So then I left my job. I was working as an assistant buyer in the fashion business, and then I left my job and went back to school, and I was the oldest person in class. I was like, yeah, oldest person in class. Everybody's like 17, 18, 19. And then here I was, the older person, but everybody thought I was younger because everybody always thinks I'm younger than I am, but everybody thought I was younger. So that's how that happened.
Okay. And so, and I think that's a really important, because it kind of tells your story to where you are today, right? Working in media and doing it on your own. So I do want to kind of shift a little bit to Ghana itself. Now, your parents were both Ghanaian?
Yes.
Okay. So how often did you come back and forth to Ghana growing up?
Not often.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We came when I was, I think, 6 or 7.
Okay.
And then I came at 25.
Okay.
And then at 30.
Okay. So what prompted you to come at 30? Because 30, you stayed here for a couple years, right?
No.
That was later.
Later, when I say a couple years, I think it was 38.
Okay. All right.
It went 38.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm older than people think I am.
Yes, which I even got it wrong because I think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what prompted you to come to Ghana at 38 and to live here for a couple years? What was it in your life that made you say, I want to go to Ghana and not just visit but stay?
So I actually didn't plan on staying when I came.
Okay.
When I came, it was supposed to be just like a getaway because I was going through some personal challenges. I was feeling really down because I was trying to get work, consistent work, but I wasn't, like, I would be applying to all these different TV stations and getting all these rejection letters. And I was just feeling like I'm good at what I do, but nobody wants to hire me. I don't understand. And so my mom is the one who actually made the suggestion, oh, you should just go to Ghana and just have a getaway, free your mind. You know, it wasn't a plan that I was going to be staying. So literally I came, and within a couple of weeks, I was doing something on the red carpet. No, not a couple of weeks. Within a couple of weeks, I got a job offer.
Okay.
And then I ended up shooting a pilot for a show where I think it was called Red Carpet TV.
Okay.
And this guy believed in me. So I was a red carpet host. We filmed a pilot episode, and I was filming at the Ghana Movie Awards.
Okay.
That was after being here for a bit. But before that, after a couple of weeks of being here, I was offered a job. So I was working at a school.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for a job at all. And this shows the power of networking in Ghana, because a lot of people don't realize networking is a huge thing. So it was actually at a birthday party that I met the person who ended up offering me the job at a school.
Okay. And so that's how you sustained living for a while. You left, and then what brought you back again in 2016?
So before we get there,
Yeah.
the school, while there, I was still networking.
Sure.
And then I ended up getting a job on a TV show. So I ended up hosting a TV show.
Got it. Okay.
So that's what kept me through 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when that contract had ended and I ended up going back to Canada, while I was in Canada, I kept thinking, Ghana wasn't so bad. It was really good. I had opportunity to do media stuff that I enjoy. And plus I was also dating somebody who was from here at the time. And, he encouraged me that he thinks that I would be really successful in Ghana if I came back to Ghana and stuff. So that was part of me making the decision too, but it largely was me feeling that there was definitely opportunity in Ghana because I felt it, because I was like, the fact that I was able to do some of the things I did that didn't come so easily in Canada.
Makes sense. And, life is, although there's some challenges living here, if you have the right network, you can move through and navigate through faster here. I think people work more collaboratively. I've had a lot more assistance moving around here than I have in other places, for sure. Okay, so you moved back in 2016.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you ended up working for the Ghana Tourism Authority. Was it 2019 or
2019.
2019. So what did you do between 2016 and 2019 for work?
So when I came, I had an opportunity that fizzled out when I arrived, actually.
Okay.
I had been corresponding with someone at a TV station that no longer exists in Ghana. It was called Viasat.
Okay.
I was communicating with someone there, and when I got here, they ended up getting bought out by Kwese TV. So then that opportunity was completely gone. And so I was looking for work. Then I was like, what? I moved to Ghana? I was like, the one strong lead I had is now gone. Now what? So I was looking for work. And then I started doing my YouTube videos once in a while, doing videos because I was like, let me just make some videos so that people see what's going on. And at that time, I wanted to start doing interviews. And I did a few interviews and then never posted them because I felt like they weren't good enough. Okay. Now I wish I did post them back then because it's like, that was 2017 when I started recording interviews with people. I still have them. I should really edit them and just post them anyway.
Why not?
Those people's lives have changed a lot since those interviews were done. But anyway, I ended up getting work and this was through networking, through a person who was friends with the production company. He was like, hey, Ivy, I know you're looking for work. Maybe you should meet up with this person I know who has a production company. And so then I ended up getting a job at Refined Creative, a production company. Mm-hmm. So I started working at a production company as a producer.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a common theme here in terms of networking, right? That seems to be the common theme so far. So, okay, so you're working as a producer at Refined Creative. And were you there up until the role at the Ghana Tourism Authority?
I was there up until end of 2018. So it was like 2017, 2018. And then, because that was contractual. So it wasn't that I was an employee per se, but it was contractual. And so some of the projects that we were getting, the film projects, weren't coming in at the same pace. So then when they slowed down, then it was like, okay, I need to find something else.
Sure.
And so then I was looking, and so the year of return, Ghana Tourism Authority, I started working with them in May 2019.
Okay.
So throughout the beginning of 2019, I was just focused on, I was doing videos on my YouTube channel, and I was doing freelance stuff. So people would call me, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And then I was just billing people as a freelancer. So I was doing freelance stuff until I got the job with Ghana Tourism.
Got it. Okay. And so at that time, I was actually planning my trip to Ghana for the year of return. And so I ended up coming here, and it was an amazing time. And I became aware of what was happening through social media leading up to it. And then there was a lot of buzz around social media at the time. So can we talk about what your role was at the Ghana Tourism Authority for the year of return and beyond the return activities?
So I was the social media manager. So my job was creating content and sharing it with the world. So I would go to events, festivals, conferences, going to the airport to welcome people and capture photos and videos that would be edited and then posted to the social media platforms. I also wrote press releases, sometimes help with writing with brochures, and then content for the website as well. So there was a lot of communication involved with the role, with making sure that the message got out there. So in the months preceding me coming to Ghana Tourism Authority, I was already doing content about the year of return on my own personal platforms.
Sure.
So from 2018, I heard about it. I heard about the year of return in like late 2018 because the president had gone and made an announcement in the US. And then I noticed that celebrities were starting to come to Ghana. And then December, when Bosma St. John and Boris Kodjoe brought a group to Ghana, I took some pictures. I went to the brunch that they did with the president. And then I was sharing content on my platform already. And then whenever they would have press conferences, different things, media events related to the year of return, I was there and I was making videos and content on my blog for my audience who were interested in Ghana. And I noticed that there was a pattern of people being interested in it. And so Ghana Tourism Authority, people there had already seen my stuff and had been following some of my work. It was the manager of the office who had recommended me for the interview for the role because they were looking for someone. And when I went to interview, people told me that they were already following me. They already saw my content. So it kind of was perfect timing that I was recommended for the role. So it was good. It was a lot of work.
Sure.
And I had a lot of passion for it because there was long days and nights with doing it. Because it's not only, because people don't realize it's like you go to an event and you're filming at the event, you're taking pictures at the event. And then when you go home, while other people go home and sleep, now you have to go through all the content and see which pictures are going to work, which video is going to work. You're going to have to edit the stuff and then get it out there in a reasonable time. So doing all that, and then by the time you go to sleep, now you got to get up again and do it all over again the next day. And a lot of people don't realize that cycle of how much work is involved. And answering DMs, people sending DMs to the Facebook page, to the Instagram page, and you have to respond to them. You can't just leave them. So between that and then doing the actual, some of the work and the running around, it's a lot.
I can imagine. So I do want to call out some of the viral moments that we all remember, but you might not know. Ivy was the one who was taking that content. So can you go through some of the people that you received at the airport, some of the people you filmed, who came throughout this time?
So Steve Harvey, that one was a big one.
Steve Harvey was a big one.
That was a big one when he came, and that video just went, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I tell young people, you can do stuff on your phone because people think they have to get a camera. And yes, it's great to get a camera and to get to that level. But when you're starting, you can use your phone. And there's even people who are not just starting, who are well into their career and still using their phone.
Yep.
You can do so much with the quality of the phones nowadays. Put it on the highest settings, make sure you know the frame rate and that kind of stuff. But a lot of this was on my phone, on my Samsung S6 in 2019.
Right.
Cardi B, when she came, also I filmed that, and I will never forget one of her team, her bodyguard or somebody, put his arm up and smacked my tripod, and my tripod broke. I was so upset, and it's like their team wanted us to come and welcome them, but yet someone from her team, does that. It was quite annoying. But anyway, Cardi B and who else? Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him.
That video went so far. Like him drumming, like that video went so far. Like I couldn't believe how far that video went. Ja Rule, videos I took of Ja Rule that so many people took. This is one of the things that a big mistake I made, because sometimes you learn lessons. The Ja Rule ones, I was so anxious to just get the videos out, and I posted them, and then I realized, oh damn, I forgot to put the logo on it. And any and everyone started downloading those videos of him at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, putting their logos on it. Like I saw everybody downloaded that. I was like, oh no, I made a mistake. I didn't put the logo on it. But yeah, the Ja Rule videos went far as well. When Tina Knowles came, I took video of her when she came to the airport as well. That was pretty cool too. And interestingly, sometimes some of the viral moments weren't even famous people. Sometimes they were, regular people who came, and then the video would go far. For instance, there was a woman who came to our office, and then I did a video of her, and she was just saying that she loves Ghana so much. She wants to be a part of Ghana. And that video ended up having over 100K views. And, and she was just, people resonated with somebody who loves Ghana so much and wants to be here, wants to come here. So yeah, a lot of these moments, videos from Afrochella, I took videos of Burna Boy, and, so many videos like when I'm thinking back, interestingly, I was going through my hard drives, like, because I was actually looking for something. And as I was going through all of my hard drives, I was like, man, I forgot about this.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about this. Videos of Black Sharif, I've stood on the stage filming him and he's like walking right by. And it's really, really been a phenomenal experience to have worked on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say, millions of people have come to Ghana because of the year of return and beyond the return activities. And you have to imagine some large percentage of those people became aware of it through social media, right? And whether that's the social media that you guys posted or the earned media that came from other people downloading and reposting. I know I definitely reposted a lot of the content, the Steve Harvey video for sure, Stevie Wonder for sure. I even talked about it on a live stream. I remember talking about Stevie Wonder, talking about, wanting to come here and eventually talking about moving here. It's a lot easier said than done, but I do remember him saying that for sure. So you were with the Ghana Tourism Authority for how long? How many years were you there?
5.5 years.
Wow. So you were there for a significant amount of time. So you really saw all of it from its inception to just about 7 months ago. So you've kind of seen this wave of people coming in and out of the country based on what you guys were doing. Now, you decided about 7 months ago to branch off on your own and continue the work that you're doing, but for yourself, and solely work on what you're doing for yourself. Can you describe the kind of content that you're shooting now on your platform, and what do you want people out there that are watching to get from what you're shooting?
I'm really shooting a lot of interviews with people, getting a lot of people's personal stories, their journeys, to hear about how they've experienced Ghana or other parts of Africa they may have visited, and just knowing what people are doing here, people who have businesses, people who are raising kids here, what is it that they're doing when they're in Ghana. And then also interviewing people, even if they're just on a visit, people who are visiting, high profile people who may be visiting, and sharing what their experiences is with Ghana, and if they want to go to any other African country. So my whole thing is about connecting the diaspora with Africa. And my long-term goals are to actually expand beyond being in Ghana and to do more travel experiences as well, because I do have some travel content on my page from previously, but I do want to do some more travel content showcasing other parts of Ghana. And I want to lean into doing longer storytelling, stronger stories. Yeah, so I have that. And then I have a separate platform that I'm starting that one is going to be more geared towards women's lifestyle, women's health. Because sometimes there's things I want to talk about that don't go well on my main channel, especially because my main channel is, I think my numbers are like 65 to 70% men watch my channel. So when I throw in a topic that is about, women talking about, oh, women, we're going through this and we need to see doctors about that. It's like those 70% of guys who are watching my channel will be like, why is she talking about this now?
Understood. Yeah.
So I've started a separate platform that I'll have those stories on. And then my main one will still be focused on African storytelling.
Okay. Now, what has that been like for you, branching out on your own, as a content creator and specifically here in Ghana?
It has been good and bad. The bad is, you got to hustle. You got to hustle because the money's not coming. There's no guaranteed salary at the end of the month. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but that's one of the challenges, that once you go on your own, that there's no expectation that something is coming at the end of the month. You have to be doing something. And it's really good. It feels free. I feel free. I feel a sense of freedom because I can do what I want, how I want to, when I want to do it, who I want to talk to, without thinking about someone else that I have to consider. And when I say that, anybody, if you work in corporate, if you work in government, you know that you have companies that have these expectations, or government offices that have these expectations that you're not going to touch on certain topics. Because you hear stories all the time about someone online expressing their views about something, then they lose their job because they say it's against the company's values, the company's, belief system. So when you're on your own, you are free to say what you want, how you want to say it, because you're crafting your own brand. You're crafting how you want your business to be. You're not worried about someone else telling you can't do A, B, C, D. So there's a freedom in that, which I like. I really, really like that, because it's one of the things about working in the government that can be a challenge, is you can feel like you can't say certain things.
Yeah, understandably so. And so, I think your journey's been interesting. We've talked throughout the last couple of years and you've been here for a lot of major changes in the country. What has that been like watching how Ghana has become the number one tourist destination based on Forbes and, the year of return having over 500,000 visas, I think at that year, but over 1 million people coming in, $3 billion in revenue that next year. And then there's this influx of people coming, like it's no longer Tulum or Jamaica, all these places that people used to say they want to go, especially from the States. Someone of Ghanaian descent and who's lived here prior to it becoming a fad, right? How has it been like seeing this change?
It's been really interesting because I think back to being a young girl in Canada and being an African and how it wasn't cool.
Right.
People were made fun of as Africans because the narrative of Africa was always this negative thing.
Sure.
And so now to fast forward to now and to see that some of those very same people who had no interest in travel to Africa, now they want to come to Africa.
Yep.
They want to come to Ghana. And for me, it's like beyond my wildest dreams would I ever think that this would be the case. Right. But I think it's great. I think it's great because choosing an African country for your holiday, a West African country for your holiday, gives you a new experience that you may not be used to. Because people talk about going to Paris, going to Spain, going to Greece. Now they're talking about, I'm going to Ghana.
Sure.
Whether it's Ghana or Sierra Leone, or they're talking about going to the Gambia or, because Western African countries didn't get that much attention before, like they do now. Before it was always Morocco, Kenya to go for a safari, Egypt to go see the pyramids, or to go to South Africa.
Yep.
That's what it was when people say they were coming to Africa. Now, West Africa is the place that's like, it's lit. People are coming to, they go to Nigeria, they're coming to Ghana, they're going to Sierra Leone, they're going to Ivory Coast, aka Cote d'Ivoire. They're going to countries that you would have never expected. And for me, I think it's a really beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Now, there is a question that comes up a lot about gentrification. And the idea of gentrification, for those who aren't that familiar with the term specifically, is really just more about the idea of people coming in with higher finances and raising the property value up and the cost of living. So those who are living there can no longer afford there and they kind of get moved out, right? Generally, in the United States, almost always looks like Caucasian Americans moving into Black neighborhoods, and those Black people are having to move out and move further away. But it's a little different here, right? Because you now have Americans coming here and you have landlords here charging in dollars, right? My landlord charged me in dollars in the apartment building not too far from where we are today. So what are your thoughts on gentrification and how, there are people talking about the negative aspects of the large influx of diasporans coming back to Ghana?
I think it definitely is something that any country that's going through development, going through urbanization faces. So I think whether it was, the diaspora or whether it was Ghanaians themselves returning, because there's always been an influx of Ghanaians coming back home to build and develop. A lot of Ghanaians who live abroad, their dream is coming back, coming to build a home, that kind of thing. So there's always been that's already helped to drive property value, because I have family who've done that. They lived abroad, then they came back, they bought property, they've developed. And so it's just because it's happening at such a fast pace now that it's becoming a real challenge. And a lot of these real estate people, as you mentioned, charging in dollars, they say the reason they do that is because of the city instability going up and down, and also because they're buying some of their materials in dollars. And so when it gets here, in order to recover what they've spent, they'll be charging it in dollars to peg it to the dollar. So that way there's some stability. So that's not like one week the city is one rate, the next week it's another rate, it's up and down. So they say that that's why they charge it to the dollar. But I think as Accra goes through this urbanization more and more, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse with respect to the cost of land and property, because land and property is something that always appreciates in metropolitan cities, no matter where you are in the world. So there definitely has been an impact. I will agree that there has been an impact with locals not being able to afford to buy some of the properties. in those instances, locals may want to consider group economics. They may want to consider working together as a team to buy stuff if they want to be able to buy. So like if there's three brothers and they all want to get a piece of land in Accra somewhere and they can't afford it individually, why not come together as three brothers, bring your money together, buy that piece of land, and then work on it together and develop it together. And then when you all made some money from it, then someone might separate and go and get another one. But when we work as a team, because I see that in other places, like in Canada, when immigrants come, especially the Indian immigrants, they have this on lockdown, because Canada is very expensive to buy a house now. Like the average houses in Toronto are like $750,000 to $1 million. The average person can't buy one. But what we see a lot of Indians do is they move in together, they're saving up and saving up and saving up, and then someone has enough money to go and buy a house. They're saving up, living together as a group, and then saving up. So we have to go back to group economics if we're going to be able to afford some of the places in Accra. But if people are willing to leave Accra, there are some deals outside of Greater Accra. People can find some properties that are not that expensive outside of Greater Accra, which is what people have been forced to do. And culturally, a lot of people in Ghana get land in their hometown, maybe a village somewhere. A lot of times they go and get something that's not even in Accra. So it's a tough one. It really is. Yeah. It's a tough one because gentrification is happening all over the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And cities are expanding all over the world. And so the flip side of that, I remember you and I had a conversation and we were talking about a family member of yours who had bought a ton of land in the early 2000s in East Legon, I think it was. So let's talk about
the 90s.
In the 90s. Wow. Okay. So it must have been dirt cheap at that point in time. Was East Legon even considered? I don't even know.
Yeah, it was bush.
Okay, it was bush. So I think there's a flip side to that, right? We're in virgin territory on the continent of Africa, where buying land now at the rates that you could buy it looks like what Europeans were doing in the Americas 150 to 200 years ago. And so with that, I remember, and I don't know if there's specific on numbers, but just the exponential growth that family member had seen in the value of their property. So to be clear, for those who are watching, you don't know, East Legon is where the company I used to work for used to rent a building in East Legon, and it's so developed now. You couldn't believe that it used to be a bush in the 90s. But someone thought ahead, bought that land, and now you mentioned to me that they saw an incredible return on that investment, right?
Most definitely. As a matter of fact, my dad had the opportunity to buy some and he chose not to because he was very much invested in us being in Canada. And so now I'm just like, oh man, I wish my dad would have bought some of that land, because I actually remember brochures being mailed to us in Canada, and we were looking through the brochures at that time of land and properties in Ghana, and it was like, it was cheap. Like when I look back now, I'm like, that was like nothing back then. And that was in the old currency, because the Ghana cities, they've readjusted their valuation in 2007. So before that, in the early 90s, late 80s, the value was completely different. So it was dirt cheap back then, you know? So I'm like, man, I wish my dad would have bought back then. But hey, I mean, people make their decisions for their own reasons, so.
Sure, and hindsight is 20/20, right?
Yeah.
You know, but what that means today, though, is there's no better time than the present, because it's just going up. And as I mentioned, the cities expand. And so buying right outside of the capital city, even right now, it might be a lot cheaper than buying in the city, but the cities are expanding, and you just know that at some point, the property value would go up a ton. I always make that recommendation to folks. Okay, so shifting from all of that. So you've been now doing your thing for 7 months. You're shooting content. You're interviewing folks who have businesses here, people who are moving here, people who have moved back. When you look back at your decision to go on your own and become a content creator, are there things that you wish you knew before you made the decision? And would there be advice that you would give to others who are coming to move to Ghana and want to do it solely as a content creator? Because we see that a lot, right? A lot of people come here without a plan for finances, don't have a job in place, and they just come here and shoot content. What advice would you give, and what do you wish you knew before you made that decision?
Before I made the decision to go on my own?
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't really anything that I didn't know before I made the decision, because all along I've always been making content. Even while I was working with them, I would be trying to do my own content on the side, but I couldn't focus on it 100%. So that was a large part of the catalyst of me leaving, was so that I can focus on my own content 100%. But the advice that I would give someone who's saying they want to move to Ghana or an African country to become a content creator is that you really have to plan well. You have to have money in the bank before you take that leap. Don't come and expect that you're just going to blow up overnight because you're doing content in Africa. Because there's people who've been doing this for a decade before they started making good money doing this content. And also knowing that there's a lot of competition now, because if you did it 7-8 years ago, maybe you would have been ahead of the game, and then you would have been one of the people who's making more. But now there's so much competition because so many people are doing videos on Ghana. Sure. You open up YouTube and you're just like, so many videos of, I just came to Ghana and now I'm doing content. I'm telling my journey in Ghana. And so you have a lot of people to compete with. What makes you different? Ask yourself what makes you different. How are people going to connect with you? How are you going to tell your stories? Because you have to reach that 1,000 subscriber threshold to even monetize, first of all. And people don't realize how hard it is to get there. And then once you monetize, you have to be consistent, because even when you've monetized, there's people who don't make money still. Yep. You could be hustling, posting videos every week, doing interviews every week, and you might end up only making $200 at the end of the month. $200. That is right. You might only end up making $200 at the end of the month after all the hustle and bustle you're doing, running around. And some people don't even make that. Some people, it'd be like $50. You're like, what? $50? It's not even the threshold for them to make a payment to you, because your threshold with YouTube has to be $100 before they pay you out. Yep. And so remember that there is a struggle period before you actually start making a good income. Or be strategic with it, because some people use the YouTube channel as a platform to sell other services. Right. So if you're strategic with it, you might be able to sell other services that you do using the YouTube channel. But to leave your country and come here to solely be a content creator when you don't have an audience yet is going to be really, really hard. It's going to be really, really hard. And people don't realize how more expensive Ghana is than they realize. People just think, oh, well, my $1 gave me this many Ghana cities. I'm sure it'll go far. No, it won't. They don't realize that it won't go as far as you think. Some things, yes, things are less expensive, but then some things you realize, wait, this is almost the same. Like when you go out to some of these popular restaurants and you'll see the menu will be like, if a pizza is, let's say, 350 Ghana cities, some places are charging 350 Ghana cities for a fully loaded pizza. Yeah. That's like $30. Yep. So it's the same as where you came from, you know? So it's not always as cheap as you might think it is for some things. So, you know, some things are less, you know, like maybe buying textiles, or, you know, there's certain things that might be less expensive. Uber. Yeah, and Uber is less expensive, but, you know, there's a lot of things that are more expensive or the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really important point. And, you know, I think those who've come to the continent and shoot content, the people who've already had platforms that were rather large, yes, that audience is following them on that journey.
That's right.
There are very few people who come here and start shooting and the content is what pays for their lifestyle. There are many different circumstances in which that could happen. A lot of people did it during the pandemic and other ways that,
that was a unique time.
That was a unique time. And so I think many people are seeing that and trying to replicate that. And what you have is large influx of people coming in and leaving. And we do hope that people who come stay. So yeah, I think those are all really important points. So now, where can people find you online?
Ivy Prosper, everywhere.
Powerful name. Ivy Prosper, IvyProper.
Yes, Ivy Prosper everywhere.
Ivy Prosper everywhere. Instagram, YouTube. You're on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok.
On TikTok as well. So yeah, so all that will be in the description below. Any final words, anything else you want to say to the folks out there watching?
First of all, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on your platform. You continue to amaze me with how consistent you are.
Thank you.
And how much you're sharing a lot of information about Africa and the news. And you're diving into topics that some people don't want to dive into for controversial reasons. Sure. You're willing to dive into some of these topics. So I commend you for some of these things that you're doing. Final thoughts. I think that Africa is definitely now and the future. There is a lot happening on this continent that is ripe for opportunity if you are interested in the continent. And I say that people of African descent, Black people around the world, you can come and make a life in Africa, but you can also do something to help Africa without having to live here. Because I know it's not for everyone to pack up and move here, because people have their lives, they have their careers, they're making whatever salaries they are, they have commitments. But there are ways that you could connect with the continent, whether it's through, exporting a product. Hear stories about people investing in companies like in America and stuff. They'll be like, oh, I bought this company and I'm doing this with it, or I invested in this, as a venture capitalist. I ventured this, invested in this, invested in that. Why can't we also do that here on the continent? If you spot someone who has potential in their business,
absolutely,
why not invest in what they're doing? Because that can actually scale them up to the level that they need to get to. Because one of the problems we have on the continent is lack of access to resources to be able to scale up some of these businesses. Or you might find an existing business that needs help. Maybe let's say there's a laundry business or a car business or something that you see that, hey, you know what, I think I could do something different to grow this business. Let me invest in it, or let me buy you out and I'll do what I want to do to scale it up and do something different. There's so many different things that we could do. Or if you see let's say someone's doing a cashew business or a farm, and you want to invest in it to help them be able to get the equipment they need so they can grow into a bigger farm where they're exporting more goods, and you're investing in it, why not? Because there's so many farmers here who could use the support. There's a company that Lorraine Wright is involved in, and the name escapes me, but it's a company that you can invest in farmers. It's like you're buying shares in the company, buying stocks in the company, and then it's investing in different farmers in the African continent. And it's a way to help them to scale up their farming business as well. So that's an example of doing something that can help to scale up some of these small businesses that need the support. So my thoughts are that if you want to help Africa, you can, through business, through investment, through partnerships. And if you want to come to Africa, plan very well, because it's not what you may expect. Vacation is a completely different experience than when you actually live here. Prepare your mind to adjust to cultural differences, because culture plays a huge role. There's so many different ways that you can invest in the continent of Africa, whether living here or abroad. If you really want to, you certainly can.
Okay, excellent. And she gave all that advice for free. But if you want to know what makes sense for you as an individual, where can people find you to do some consulting? Because Ivy offers for consulting as well.
I do some consulting. On my Instagram page, there is a link under the bio that you can go to that will get you to the link for booking a consultation. I'll also share the link with you directly so you can put it in the comment section.
It will be down below. So again, thank you, Ivy, for doing this. I appreciate you coming last minute.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. We always have great conversations behind camera, so I like to sometimes bring them on camera for you guys. And if you guys have watched this far, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you know anybody who's thinking about moving to Ghana, this interview is going to be pertinent for them. Anybody who know who's into social media and wants to start a social media platform and wants to move here and shoot content and become a content creator, this is going to be important for them. So make sure you share it with them. If you have any questions for Ivy that I have not answered, put them in the comments below. We'll make sure we get those to her. And she always responds to the comments. I noticed that you always do that. She always responds to the comments. So she'll respond to you directly. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. And with that, guys, thanks for watching. See you all on the next video. All right, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share it with your friends. All right, see you on the next video.